today I'm gonna make some Japanese milk bread. And in order to do that, the first thing we have to do is make what's called a bread enhancer, or tangzhong, I think is how it's pronounced. Anyway, I need 2 cups of water and 2/3 cup of bread flour that we are going to stir together until all the lumps are out. And then we're gonna cook it. Until it really thickens up. This takes about 5 to 7 minutes to get to the right consistency, and then we have to let it cool before we can even make our bread. Let me get my little whisk to get these little lumps out without making a giant mess. There we go. You can see no lumps. So now we are going to turn the burner on to medium, and then we stir for the next 5 to 7 minutes until it thickens up. So we have reached the exact consistency that we want. You see how thick it is? And I had to stand here and stir it because the first time I made this recipe, I did not. I just let it sit, and then it got clumps in it, which really affects the texture of your bread once it's finished. So I'm just going to put this in this plastic bowl and put a lid on it and let this sit until it cools, because we need it cold when we put it in our bread. So the tangzhong that I made earlier today is finally cool, so we're ready to make bread. Remember when you were here last week and I gave you that bread right before you were leaving and I was like, wait, try this?
Yes.
That's what we're gonna make.
Oh, goody.
Okay, so you need 5 cups of bread flour, which is right there, in our giant mixing bowl. I know. 8 tablespoons of sugar. This is double the recipe. You don't have to make 2 loaves, but she's leaving, and so I want to send her with a loaf and keep a loaf here because that's who we are. Yep. 2 packets of yeast. Stir that together for me. And then our tangzhong, I don't even know if I'm saying that right, it has to be weighed out. Okay, so I have a digital scale. I like the digital scale because I can put this on it. Used to be you would put something like this on and you would say, okay, so this weighs 23 grams. I need 240 grams, so my total has to be 243 grams, 263 grams, right?
Yeah.
Now I can just go tare, and it brings it back down to 0. So it measures this and says that's what she's going to use to put it all in. So now I can do, I need 240 grams of this. You get a more accurate measurement. Ooh. Ha!
Right on it.
Right on the button. Okay. So we're going to pour this. Oh, we can take this out. This is our 240 grams of tangzhong. If you're going to make one recipe, then you really only need 120 grams. And the recipe for the tangzhong is it's always going to make more than you need for 1 loaf or even 2 loaves. So you can keep it on hand. It'll last for a couple days in the refrigerator, but after a week,
no,
throw it out and start over.
Can you freeze it?
I don't know. I've never tried. We can try that and see how it works. Okay, so also 2 eggs and a cup of whole milk, and we're gonna throw this all in the mixer with our dough hook. So our mixer is fit with our dough hook attachment. So we're just gonna turn this on medium speed, let the dough come together. Make sure the eggs are broken up and the milk is everything is incorporated. And then we're gonna add butter, because who doesn't like butter?
No recipe is complete without butter.
Clearly. I used to work with a chef who told me fat is flavor. Fat is flavor. Alright, so pretty much together. Now I'm going to take a stick of butter that I have softened and just add it. And once again, this is for 2 loaves. So if you're only making 1 loaf, you only need half a stick of butter. Now here's the fun part. I am a huge fan of recipes that I can start and walk away from. So this is going to be 20 minutes on high. And then we wait. Okay, so 17 minutes in the mixer. We didn't go the full 20 because it started to get real hot and I was afraid that the mixer was going to start smoking. But here's the real test. Is taking a chunk, pulling it apart. Yep, that's what you want. Okay, so now we're going to take all of this out of here. Can you do me a favor and spray that bowl? Just the bottom of it. Lightly spray it with that cooking spray.
Like that.
Yep. Now we're going to take the dough and drop it inside. And then I have a wet towel over at the sink. Can you grab it for me? So, there we go. Now just put that on top. Spread it out. It's a wet towel so you keep the moisture in. You don't want the bread to dry out because that's gross. And we're going to leave this for about 40 minutes or until it doubles in size. Our milk bread dough has doubled in size, right?
Yes.
Okay, so I'm going to sprinkle a little bit of flour down on my little cutting board that I just cleaned again. And there is our dough. We're going to cut this into 8 pieces, 4 for each loaf. So what I'm going to do is cut in half. I'm going to cut this one in half. And then cut these in half. Okay, and all we're going to do, if you need a little bit of flour on your hands, it might be helpful. We're going to form balls of dough.
It's like fun to play
And
with.
so, yeah, you're going to basically pull it out into a round like that, longer, and then fold the sides under.
Like this.
Mm-hmm. Until the seam is going to be on the bottom end. And you have a top that looks kind of like that.
So I fold it this way.
Mm-hmm.
And just roll it.
Yep. Fold it in. Nope. Hold on. I gotta spray the pan. Okay. Okay, here we're gonna fold
Oh, okay.
each of the corners in like you're folding like a note.
Oh, okay.
And then, got it?
Place it down on this side.
Make it a ball to make it round. And when you finish. Good. Now, put it down on there. Go ahead with the next one.
You make this stuff look easy.
Your other cousin says the same thing to me. Candace said that. I'm like, I don't. This is one of those things that it's just kind of trial and error and practice, and you don't. I mean, it doesn't have to be a perfect circle because we're gonna roll it out again. We got to let this rest for 15 minutes, and then I'm gonna take the smaller one. It'll probably be easier to handle. Because cutting them into halves and halves again is kind of an eyeball thing and not a true, it's half. I could have gotten the scale out. We could have measured to make sure that we were, every piece is the same. But it's not what I did. So we're going to have 8 of these. And then I'm going to get the plastic wrap while you finish that one up. And we're going to cover that in plastic wrap. And let it sit for about 15 minutes. And then we'll come back and roll them out. Okay, so our 8 balls are made. Now we're just going to cover in a little bit of, well, it's going to take a lot of saran wrap at this point because it keeps folding in on itself. set our timer for 15 minutes and we'll be back. So our bread sat covered for about 15 minutes. Now this part I have to do by myself because I only have one rolling pin. So if you will spray those with that works.
Spray the sides too?
Mm-hmm. Yep, otherwise the bread will stick to it. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to roll out the dough straight, like into an oval. There we go. Then I'm going to fold one side up, fold the other side up, turn it, roll.
Oh, cool.
And then lay in the pan. So you can make these in a regular bread pan, but we're going to make them in pie plates because I like the shape of it. So,
Fancy.
yeah, oval. Roll up. And I'm going to put one in each kind of corner because it's going to expand. So we're going to cover these with just a towel this time and let them sit for another 40 minutes when we are done.
Does this need more or is it good?
That's good.
Yeah, I'll leave the rolling to you since I struggled with that last time.
Well, that was a different ball game. All right, so now I'm going to get a towel and we'll set it over the top and let this rise again for 40 minutes and then we'll do an egg wash over the top and put them in the oven. So we've let our formed milk bread rise under that towel. You want to lift it up and see what it looks like now? So I told you it would take the shape.
Yes, it did.
So it didn't matter. Okay, so now we're going to do the egg wash. This is just an egg, a whole egg, whisked. And now we're just going to brush it over the top. This gives it that golden shine that was on it. And we are going to do this all over the bread, and then we'll bake it in a 325-degree oven for 30 minutes. So now we're going to try a honey glaze for our milk bread. I have a stick of butter that I've melted on the stove, and 3/4 cup of honey. And we are going to mix them together. I'm trying to thin out the honey and thicken the butter. I use this on biscuits too.
Ah, that's how they get that taste.
So it's all incorporated together. Okay, so now let's take our brush. You want to brush it over the top? I'll let you do it. So what I would do now also is put some here because it'll drizzle into the cracks when you open it up, so that the pieces that aren't the edges still get the honey butter on them. And make sure we get all in there. Okay, I think we're good.